Welcome back to the TRM Show. I'm your host, Dave Serafinas. Our next episode is going to be very unique. Our next guest brings over 40 years of corporate security experience. His career started as a third shift security officer with General Motors, and he progressed it to become a chief security officer. He's worked for companies such as General Motors, Kimberly-Clark, Levi Strauss, Cardinal Health, and then became the chief security officer for Temple Inland. He also has 10 years of consulting experience. John Rodriguez is the founder of Empathic Security Cultures. He has held certifications such as CPP, CFE, has lectured numerous times at ASIS, ISMA, and other security associations, and is a member of the Association of Threat Assessment Professionals. He holds a facilitator certificate from the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. He has authored articles including How to Build a Best-in-Class Security Culture. John is also a certified family support group facilitator with the National Alliance on Mental Health. Welcome to the show, John.
Great. Finally got to connect with you. We chatted a couple of times, so excited to visit with you more.
Great. So, I've read most of your articles, and I'm wondering what motivated you to think about the concept of empathy and security cultures? Was there a triggering event, something that may have happened, or how did that all come about?
When I decided to go back to consulting last year, I decided thinking about what to name my company. And I picked Empathic Security Cultures because I think security cultures are the foundation for any success in any business. Being in the profession 40 years, I enjoy studying people, observing people. I double minored in psychology and sociology. So just a natural piece of me to always be observing interaction and how folks communicated and got along or disagreed, how to resolve issues and so forth. So when you think about a security culture or a security program in a company, in essence, what do we want? We want employees to report out of line things. There's a stranger in the parking lot, some product is missing, somebody threatened someone. We want information. We can teach people with awareness and training as much as you want, but at the end, the employees there has to be a buy-in, and that's based on trust. And then the compassionate part comes out. When you talk about empathy, there's three core areas. That's cognitive. I'm engaged with you, David. I'm fully aware, and I get what you're saying, and you have my full attention without judgment, without my opinions. And then there's emotional or visceral. If your kid slams their finger in the door, you feel it as a parent, right? So that's a visceral, emotional effect. And then the last part is compassionate. You connect with them, you feel it. Now you want to help them. How can I help you get through this? Or how can I address your concern that your car is exposed to break-ins, or that there's catalytic converter thefts in the neighborhood? Is that your real concern? I want to know so that I can collect the information and then try to work towards solutions. If the higher degree of trust is there, that means a stronger culture, just a general site culture. And then you build off your security program discussion, and that folds up into what you can define as a security culture. So part of active listening or engaged listening or focused listening or empathic listening is, giving your whole self, setting your ego aside. You've seen articles and comments about, listen to really understand the information, what the person's thinking and feeling at the moment, and not let your ego get in the way, and be there in the conversation to reply and give them advice or cut them off, or even be thinking ahead. It's being focused on what that person's saying. So in any business, any transaction, any interpersonal transaction, especially in business, and especially in the security side, if we're talking to a group of employees about a security piece that we're asking them to help us with, shortages or the workplace violence or non-hostile or psychological safety or bullying practices that we want to prevent, we want to connect with the people and listen to them. It's not a one-way, we want you to do all these things. It's more, what do you think about security here? What do you think about bullying? What do you think about the parking lot risks? What do you think about the lighting here? And that's where empathic listening is. So that's kind of the practice and the philosophy that I bring and I emphasize and I mentor folks in, that it starts with connecting with people at the human level. Because security, at the end of the day, you can have policies and procedures, but it's really a request. I even tell some folks that security awareness is dead. Security request is what it really is. You're asking people to report bullying or threatening behavior. Well, how you ask them and how you ask for their input about the request to see if they're aligned or if they have other concerns, that sets the security professionals apart. I think the ones that go in and deliver training and messages, you get everybody to sign off the roster that they were there, that they agree, but how many really agree with what you're saying? It depends how connected you are, how you listen to them, how you ask them questions.
Now, how would you suggest bringing this as a top-of-mind issue to organizations? Do you go directly to a chief security officer or a security leader, or do you go through HR? And how would you imagine it would be a best way to do that?
For a security culture, when I was in the corporate side, it's multi-approached model, and it's not you do one, then you do two, you do three, you do them all at the same time. And that's connecting with business leaders. Unless you have that trust at the leadership level first, I talk about 3 levels of influencers or folks you need to develop relationships with. Of course, the C-suite, then it's the business unit level, like a business president, a GO, EMEA or APAC or LATAM. But really, the critical ones are site leaders, I think, because a corporation has a culture, how we're going to do things, how we treat people. But really, at a site, they have their own local site subculture or local culture. And that leader sets the tone of what the priorities are, especially when it comes to security. And those are the ones that you want to engage with even more to work together to provide a safe and secure work environment.
I'm guessing a lot of people are going to read this or see this podcast. And how would an organization, after hearing this and it resonating, how would they go about setting up a program to at least have that discussion? I would imagine they would contact you, correct?
Yeah, I'm helping a lot of folks individually. And it's interesting because you mentioned, do I go to the CSO directly? I have, and I can, and I will, but I'll help any professional at any stage of their career.
Excellent. Thanks, John. Really appreciate you being on the show. We look forward to seeing you in future episodes. Have a good one. Thank you.